There once was a time in the not-so-distant past when penguins ruled many lands in the sea of organizations. These penguins were not always wise, they were not always popular, but they were always in charge. Most organizations looked the same. Top executives and managers wore their distinctive penguin suits, while the worker birds of many different kinds wore colors and outfits that reflected their work and their lifestyles. Birds who aspired to move up in their organizations were encouraged to become as penguin-like as possible, to shorten their steps and learn the penguin stride, to wear penguin suits and follow the examples of their leaders. And employee development departments offered extensive training programs on appropriate penguin behavior. The rules and norms were clear from day one. Penguins advised in subtle and not so subtle ways.
This is the way we do things here.
If you want to be successful, be like us.
Some birds who wanted to move up in the pecking order became very good at taking on the penguin look and the penguin behaviors. But even they found that they never quite made it into key positions. It was assumed by everyone that penguins were natural leaders, orderly, loyal, and good team players. Penguins could be trusted to put the organization's interests ahead of personal and family concerns. Other birds were thought to be more flighty and less dependable. Of course, this was never stated aloud or in writing because, like in every organization, the penguins wanted to be seen as fair-minded and ready to promote on the basis of talent, hard work, and contribution. But everyone really knew the penguins had always been in charge, and the penguins would always be in charge. The elder penguins would take the younger penguins under their wings and coach them on how to be successful. They would invite them to play golf and go jogging. It was clear to everyone who the important penguins were. It was also clear that the penguins felt most comfortable around each other. Life was good in the land of the penguins, as long as everyone played by the penguins' rules. But there came a time when things began to change in the land of the penguins. Started to visit other lands where they encountered interesting birds who impressed them with their leadership talents, experience, and accomplishments.
These birds are not penguins, but perhaps they become penguins if we brought them into our land and trained them in our penguin ways.
Surely these impressive and unusual birds could adapt to the life in the land of penguins. And the talent they bring would make us even more successful.
Our climate is different. It's chilly and cold, like Erie. And our terrain is unique. It's icy and barren. But we have thrived there, so will perhaps these new birds.
If they are as smart as we think they are, they can adjust to our weather and our ways.
And that was how Perry, the peacock, came to live in the land of penguins. Now, Perry was clearly not a penguin. In fact, he was the opposite of penguinity. Perry was a peacock. a bright, colorful, and noisy bird. Woo! Perry was a very talented peacock who had accomplished some extremely impressive things in his own land. He could write well.
That's me.
He could write well, and he was excellent at managing his budgets. He was creative and imaginative, and at the same time practical and sensible. He had many friends and admirers in his own land, and was very popular and well-liked. Senior managers in the land of penguins were intrigued when they met Perry. They knew that he was different, but they were impressed with what he had achieved in his career, and they were fascinated with his possibilities.
My future will be brighter in this new land.
They felt that Perry had a real penguin potential. Perry, in turn, was attracted to the penguins because of the great things he had heard and read about their land. The promise of status and wealth, and the sense of belonging to a great and powerful enterprise. It was a rich land, and all the birds were paid extremely well. My future.
That's me. My future will be brighter in this new land.
And so the penguins and the peacock agreed he would join them, and together they would achieve great things. At first, everyone was delighted. The penguins were pleased and impressed with their new recruit. He stood out in front of the crowd in a way. He sparkled and displayed flashes of color every now and then. And Perry was pleased with the novelty and the newness. He was impressed by the penguins because they looked so important in their black and white suits. Their formality and manners were so different from anything he had ever seen or experienced before. Now the peacock was careful in the beginning not to display too much of his colorful nature. You see, some friends in his own land had warned Perry about penguins. They had cautioned him about the rules and the style with which the penguins governed their land. So he kept his feathers folded up much of the time, and would only occasionally flash them open to dazzle the penguins with the full range of his talent and color. Perry wanted to be taken seriously, and he wanted to be successful. So he subdued his own peacock nature for a while, until he could be sure that the penguins had accepted him completely. He was confident that when he produced good results for them, they would embrace him fully, in all his peacock glory, and he could relax and just be himself. You see, things were different in the land where he had grown up, the land of learning. In the land of learning, there were lots of different kinds of birds. There were wise birds. They were the owls. And powerful birds, the eagles. And hunting birds, the hawks. And improbable birds, ostriches. Elegant birds, the swans. And awkward birds, goony birds. It was crowded and noisy with a buzz of activity and the rough and tumble of competition. Birds had to work hard, learn fast, and live by their wits and creativity in order to be successful. It was an exhilarating but tough environment. The motto in the land of learning was,
imagine it for a while.
As the birds worked hard to improve their talents and earn their place in the sun,
Try it.
in the land of learning, the birds didn't always get along peaceably. Sometimes there were conflicts and differences, struggles and irritations. But conflicts and differences were valued because the birds believed that is how new ideas get tested. Discussions, debates, and arguments were the way change was introduced and progress was made. Nobody cared if you were a penguin or a peacock, a dove or a blue jay. Being smart, talented, and productive were all that mattered. Initiative, creativity, and results were most highly prized. It was what was inside you and what you contributed that counted, not the kind of color of feathers that you wore. Perry the Peacock was in for some very different challenges when he went to work in the land of penguins. He was used to hard work, fighting for his ideas, and competing with many different kinds of birds. But nothing in his background had prepared him for the unique ways and special customs of the land of penguins. He wanted to do well and be successful. He was flattered that these powerful and prestigious penguins had recruited him into their ranks, and he wanted to please them. Now, Perry studied the penguins' walk, he studied their talk, and he studied their style.
How strange. They all look alike. They're like clones of each other.
He was intrigued and puzzled at the same time, and as time went on, his troubles began. Some of the penguins began to grumble.
His peacock voice is just too loud.
You see, penguins speak in very subdued, modulated tones. His feathers began to show more and more as he worked hard and accomplished many great things. Everyone agreed he was quite talented and productive, and they liked the impressive results of his work. But his flashy, colorful style made some of the senior penguins uneasy. Many of the younger penguins were delighted with this new and unusual bird in their midst.
He is such a breath of fresh air. We are so glad he's here.
I wonder how long he will last in our kingdom.
He's very un-penguin-like. I don't know what the elders will say about that.
A couple of the senior penguins tried to take him under their wings and coach him.
Well, we like your work, but some of the elders are uncomfortable with your style.
You need to change to be accepted here.
Why don't you put on a penguin suit so you look more like us?
It doesn't fit. It's too tight. My tail feathers would crush me. I cannot work if I'm not comfortable.
Well, then maybe you should paint your feathers black and white like ours. Then at least you wouldn't look so different.
What's wrong with the way I am? I work hard. I produce great results. Everyone says so. Why can't you look at my work rather than my feathers? Aren't my accomplishments more important than my style?
It's such a small thing.
You are smart and talented. You could have a bright future here. You just need to act more like us, and then the elders would be more comfortable with you.
And you need to wear a penguin suit, soften your voice, and shorten your steps.
Just watch the other penguins. See how they act. Try to be like the rest of us.
Perry believed that their intentions were good, but their words wounded him.
Why can't I just be who I am? Why do I have to change to be accepted by you?
That's just the way things are here. We've always done it this way. It's the same everywhere in the sea of organizations.
He suspected they might be right, but his heart didn't want to accept it. He thanked them for their words of advice and their concern for him, and he went back to his nest to think things over. As the months rolled by, he discussed his dilemma with some of the other birds he trusted. Several of them were also new birds who had been recruited around the same time as Perry. Many of them were experiencing similar kinds of problems. Now, Edward the Eagle complained that he too was getting pressure to change. He was